We will go ahead and call our meeting to order, the Ottawa City Commission meeting here this Wednesday, September 5th, 2015 at 7 p.m. I want to welcome everybody joining us here, not only on KOFO and the Government Access Channel, but in the room with us today. We will start with our roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore.
Present.
Commissioner Dickinson. Commissioner Reed.
Present.
Commissioner Kaler.
Present.
Commissioner Geis.
Present.
And we have a quorum, so we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Sam Renfro, Ottawa Community Church.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be able to come to you tonight. And Lord, we know that your word teaches us to pray for those that are in authority, positions of leadership. And so we pray for these men and women tonight, those in the council and those who will be making decisions. We pray that you would give them wisdom, understanding. We pray that you would give them just godliness about the things that they'll be doing and taking care of the business of our city, of our community. We pray, Father, that your hand would be upon them, give them great guidance and understanding and discernment to make the decisions that need to be made as they serve and minister to this community. I pray a special blessing upon their family as they take time away to serve in this capacity. May you bless them as well for their sacrifice and for their giving. May you bless this evening and everything that's said and done. May it bring glory and honor to you. And we pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sam. Very thoughtful prayer. Thank you. And we'll acknowledge that Sean has joined us here. Thanks, Sean. We'll go on and start with the consent agenda. We have approval of a new board member to the Board of Commissions, the Planning Commission, Rich Powers. There's also the minutes from the August 17th, 24th study sessions, August 14th special call for Allies Days, as well as August 19th regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will so move.
There's a second.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion on these items, 6 and 7? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We will continue on. Any public comments tonight?
No, sir.
None today? Okay, we won't do number 9. We'll read number 10. This time I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Everybody okay?
I'll speak up and say that there's a number 12 on the agenda, I believe. I had some conversations with that, so I will be abstaining from that vote.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Sean. We'll go on to item number 11 then.
Proclamation for Ottawa High School Wall of Honor.
It's with privilege that I do read this proclamation, and it reads this way. Whereas the Renaissance program of Ottawa High School created a Wall of Honor in the spring of 1997 to recognize special graduates of Ottawa High School who graduated in the last 10 years earlier, and whereas the school board of USD 290 approved this project in the spring of 1997 and thereby made the Wall of Honor the greatest recognition which Ottawa High School can bestow on a graduate. And whereas the 2015 group of inductees includes Carolyn Sue Thompson, Stees, OHS of 59, Lawrence Larry Wright, also of 1959 class, and G. Larry Larkin, OHS 1952. And whereas these inductees will be honored at a banquet on Thursday, September 17, 2015, and officially inducted at halftime at the Ottawa High School football game on Friday, September 18, 2015. Now therefore the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas does hereby proclaim September 17th and September 18th, 2015 as Ottawa High School Wall of Honor Days, and encourages all citizens to join in honoring these 3 outstanding individuals who graduated from Ottawa High School, signed the 2nd day of September 2015 by myself, Mike Skidmore, Mayor. And I'd like to make this presentation. And I've got 4 of them here to sign, so I'll get those signed here in just a minute here. We'll get a picture. Just hold one up. Come on in. Get everybody in there. say a few words, and I'll sign these real quick. Help yourself right up there at the microphone.
We just want to say to
Right over to that microphone. Thank you.
being a teacher, just commanding the room. Sorry about that. We wanted to tell you guys thank you for taking time out of your day to honor the activities at Ottawa High School in regards to the Wall of Honor. We'd all invite you, we know we have some former alumni here, to the activities on September 17th and 18th. Tickets are on sale at the Ottawa High School main office, and the dinner will be on September 17th, and the tickets are $15, which goes to sponsor the activities that we do. So once again, we'd like to thank you for taking the time to recognize the Wall of Honor activities. Thank you.
I just wanted to say this class of 1959, that seems to be, aren't there others in that same class? It seemed like in years past. I'm just curious, what was it about 1959 that made it such a special year? We just
1992 is coming up soon, though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. The next chapter is yet to be written, isn't it? Okay. Thank you very much for being here, and congratulations to your honorees. We'll go on to item 12.
Request for approval of ordinance amending Article 6 of Residential Zone District Regulations.
The amendment to allow art centers, art galleries, culture centers as a permitted or conditional use. By a vote of 6-0, the Planning Commission recommends approval by the City Commission. And Wendy, you want to address this?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I'd be happy to address it. We had a request from the Swan Arts Foundation to consider amendment of our residential zone district regulations. And when the request came in, we did a little checking with some other communities and found that they had similar allowances. So a hearing was called. There wasn't any public comments about this, but the Planning Commission and staff recommend approval. The amendment itself reads as art centers, art galleries, cultural centers. They would be allowed by conditional use in the low R1 and R2, the low and medium density housing, and they would be a permitted use in R3, similar to other uses that are conditional in the first two and permitted in the third. So we recommend that for adoption.
Okay. Questions of Wendy? Go ahead.
As clarification, Wendy, and I know that we've all discussed this, and like we do with so many of our other topics in our study session, which anyone is invited to come to on Mondays at 4 o'clock. But this particular change or amendment still is going to require an individual or an entity to come to the Planning Commission to ask for that conditional use.
If for the low and medium density, that's right, they would have a conditional use application. Another public hearing would be called. Notice would be given to the adjoining properties, as well as them having to give us the details of the operation, the number of people that would be there, the parking, the site layout, etc. If it's an existing building, even what model, what changes might have to happen. If it is, in fact, in a multifamily, which is the high density residential district, it does not require a conditional use permit. It would still require staff review of what it is and how it is, so that we can make sure that if it's a reuse of a property, it has adequate parking, etc., depending on the square footage. So there is review, but in the districts where it would maybe be the most just new to them, it would be a conditional use. But in contrast, as an example, churches are allowed in all those districts as a by rights use, and certainly churches can be a change in your neighborhood as well. So,
Could you, Mrs. Lee, tell us some other communities that you might have reached out to that you can remember off the top of your head that have a similar ordinance?
I didn't do the research.
Okay.
I can tell you there were several, and the one that I remember for sure was Lawrence.
Okay. Any other questions of Wendy?
Thank you.
All right. I understand that Sean will be recusing himself on this. Any other questions? I guess not. So we'll entertain a motion if you want.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner.
I move that we approve the ordinance amending Article 6 of our residential zone district regulations.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second and then. Any other discussion on this? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Dickinson?
Abstain.
Commissioner Reed?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item number 13.
Request for approval of extension request on resolution to condemn residential structure and accessory structures located at 820 North Locust.
Commission had previously granted 60 days for owner to get loan financing for a remodel. Discussion of further extension or passage of resolution with typical or extended time frame to be held before adoption of resolution. And Wendy, I guess you're going to address this also.
Yes, I'll do a little bit more background. Typically, we do these in conjunction with the public hearing. On July 1st, the City Commission held a public hearing to consider whether or not this structure should be condemned. During that hearing, staff presented testimony and evidence that supported a condemnation action, and the owners appeared and asked for more time to attempt to get bank financing so that they could be in a position to do repairs. A condemnation action just requires that the property owner or interested parties take action within a certain period of time, that they begin work and that they conclude work, and that they're making progress on a regular basis in between those 2 points, and that that work be to code, etc. And if they fail to start on time, which is typically the situation, then the city is in the position to remove the structure. There have been a few occasions when someone started work and then got in and realized the work was going to be beyond them, and they have walked away, and at that point then again the city has the opportunity to resolve it and remove what we consider to be a blight to the neighborhood and an unsafe structure. So the hearing at that time was held. The governing body gave the property owner 60 days. That expired yesterday. Or Monday, I think. And on Monday, we reached out to the property owner last week to find out where they were. They had not been in to get permits or anything else. And they indicated that they had sent us a letter and that they were, their bank had told them that they needed to have insurance. They thought they maybe had resolved that, but as of today, when they met with the bank on Monday, what they told us is the bank again told them they had to have insurance, and whatever arrangement they had made apparently was not sufficient, so they have to go again to their insurance folks and then wait and meet with the bank again next week. And so as we discussed on Monday, the City Commission has a couple of different options. They could take our typical resolution, the one that we actually submitted to you initially, requires work to begin within 10 days. That's our typical thing. And I believe conclude within 60 days. Is that what? Yes. And as we discussed on Monday, you could either defer this resolution again for a period of time, or you could act on it but adjust the dates if you wanted to give additional time. If the owner is able to get financing, it would still take some time for them to complete the work. So I can answer any questions or give you suggestions, but I'd like some direction or
Mr. Mayor, can I?
Yes, please.
Can I ask a question?
Ask questions.
I want to understand the insurance issue, I guess. So at this point, they're having trouble getting insurance.
Apparently, the property has not been covered with insurance.
Okay.
And so, no, they don't currently have insurance, and for a bank to allow them to spend money on it, they want insurance
Well, I guess,
to be provided to protect the loan.
I guess to dig a little bit deeper, is it typical? I don't know about insurance. Is it typical to, is it hard to get insurance for a structure that's been in the process of condemnation?
I don't think that our process is inhibiting it.
Okay.
I don't think it's been
That's what I
insured for
wondered.
some time.
Thank you.
My experience is it's difficult to get insurance on a structure in that condition.
Yeah.
It's even difficult to get insurance on an empty rental right now. I understand, even in good condition, because it's empty, and the fact that being empty is more of a risk for insurance companies to handle that. So I would find it very unusual that an insurance company would or could cover this as it is, as the state is in today. I don't know. Go ahead.
I keep on wrestling with this issue, and I brought it up at study session. I certainly don't want to be part of a board that doesn't value homes, and I think that we certainly do here. However, I wrestle with the fact that if the individuals on the 800 block of North Locust are all keeping up with their homes and they're all keeping them in good working condition, or in working condition maybe is what I should say, how long do we wait? I mean, I would be willing to to discuss a different length of time, but I think we have to move forward. I hate for us to just sit in limbo, considering that we are getting ready to change seasons and we are getting to the end of the budget. And we know, because we passed the budget, only allocate your department so much money to do condemnations. And if this is at the top of the list, which you had indicated, and that's the only ones that we take care of, we don't just randomly pick homes that we don't feel like are safe enough to inhabit. You have a list, correct, Mrs. Lee?
That's correct.
That of homes that are questionable or shouldn't be inhabited. And if this home is at the top of that list, I think we really have to take that seriously and listen to what your expertise says. So I think that we should certainly consider moving forward in some manner tonight.
Any other questions of Wendy?
On this one, I too have kind of gone back and forth. I know that they're key to continue to try with the process. I'm amenable to giving them a little bit more of a what I would call a soft, little bit amount of time, but then with a hard deadline where after that point we really start pushing a little harder and saying we've given 60 days, if we give another 30 days or 45 days or whatever it may be, after that we really have to see, or otherwise we keep continuing to move towards condemnation, well, following through on that.
Good point. Anybody else?
I guess I would agree with Commissioner Dickinson that I think giving him an additional 30 days, but then a hard line after that.
And Wendy, if we did that at 30 days, when would actual demolition begin if he did not fulfill his end of the obligation?
We would wait the 30 days before we bid it out unless the structure started to have some sort of a failure more eminently and we needed to be ready with bids, but typically we would wait for the end of that 30 and then we would bid it out, and it's generally going to take another 30
at that point,
to get actual action.
So we're 60 days beyond that, the extra 30 if we go that way. Okay.
So I want to make sure I understand what we're talking about here. Are we talking about, just to clarify, we are talking about giving the individual, when we were talking about the 10 and 60, which is, I thought, what
that's
was
our typical.
That's
right.
that's what you typically go with.
Mm-hmm.
Is what is being proposed here tonight is to give them a 30 and then a 60? Or I just want to understand clarification on what Commissioner Dickinson was.
Is the 10 usually, you want to see forward movement within 10?
Yeah, I would tell you they can't make 10.
That's
right.
kind
So
of
if you do a 30, that would give them time to either get their financing or let us know they're not. We don't have to wait the 30 if they determine that they cannot move forward in that time frame. And then I would give them no less than 60 to show substantial progress on the actual renovation. Then if they are, in fact, moving forward, then we, as staff, generally work through them and give them more time unless we believe they're stopping, and then we can sometimes come back and have you react or confirm that we're going to now go ahead and move forward. So.
And if work has started within this 30-day period, if we approve that, is there a timeline where we would say it must be completed by?
Well, the 60 is supposed to do that, but as long as they're, in our experience, as long as they're making substantial progress in there, then we continue to work with them. And sometimes they demonstrate that to us by having an inspection every week or every 2 weeks, which is not the same as someone else that comes in and does a remodel.
Okay.
But so that we can determine and document that they are, in fact, making forward progress. And then, depending on the weather, we get sometimes understand weather can have a factor, and we understand that.
Sure.
So, in essence, it could be 90 days, another 90 days, right? 30, 60?
Yes, if that's the solution, it would be at least 90. If they actually make progress in the 30. If they don't make progress in the 30, then it would be 60, and then we would have acted.
Okay.
The 30 is the key. We actually use the 30 as the driver.
Yeah.
They have to do something in that first 10, typically. And that's when we bid it out.
Which is going to take us mid-November.
Yes.
I mean, at a minimum.
Right.
December, yeah.
The end of November if all of it is used.
Yes.
Right, which is not a problem.
How many years has the code department been working with this?
More actively for 2. we've been aware and communicated with them previously to that.
Has any progress been made in 2 years?
Towards restoration of the structure? No. But first they had to exit.
Yeah.
And just as a clarification, Mrs. Lee, no one is currently living in this structure?
Correct.
And it is, there are no utilities to this structure?
I don't believe there's any utilities, but I would have to look through the files to tell you that for sure. We did ask them to find another place to live when we were finally granted access into the structure because we didn't believe it was safe to occupy. And it's still in that condition.
And we reviewed those pictures at study
Yes.
session,
Yes.
certainly.
That's true.
And certainly back in our July meeting too, they
Right,
reviewed.
the-
So if
yes.
anybody, the listing public is wondering, is this really one of those places, you can go back to our July meeting and certainly see all the pictures
Right.
too.
It's on the video.
Yes.
Very good. Okay. Any other comments or questions? Wendy? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I'll make a motion
Go ahead.
that we approve the extension on the resolution to condemn the residential structure and accessory structures located at 820 North Locust. I'll say that we give them 30 days, and at the end of those 30 days, we need some kind of final plan or something from a contractor to move forward, or at least permits and all of those type of things.
Okay. Everybody understand that? Is there a second on that?
I would second that.
Okay, Sharon, second. Any other discussion? Okay, if not, let's have a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes too. Motion carries. Thanks, Wendy, for all your work on that one. Item 14.
Request for approval of resolution for municipal investment pool.
The recent retirement of the city treasurer dictates the need to update a resolution for the city's account with the state municipal investment pool for the purpose of transmitting local funds for investment. Mr. Byrd.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for allowing this late addition to our agenda this evening. I've been working with the new city treasurer to develop a strategy for our investments. We've kind of done the same thing for some time now because there just wasn't much movement in the financial arena. We're seeing some of that now, and with Betty in this new position, I wanted to develop a strategy. In the midst of that, we discovered that our involvement at the municipal investment pool was insufficient in that I was the only remaining signator allowed at that facility. We have been a participant in the Kansas Municipal Investment Pool almost since its inception, although participant is a bit of a misnomer in that we've never had very much money there. We have been very fortunate to have local bankers that were very competitive with the pool, and so I can only remember maybe 2 times that we ever had any money in Topeka. However, this it is established for our use. I would like to continue to be involved with the MIP, and so what is being suggested is that we adopt this resolution, which would keep me on that as a signator, would add Betty Simpson, the city treasurer, and Haley Luke, the assistant city clerk, as signatories on that would allow us to transfer monies to the municipal investment pool should that be needed. I will tell you right now that their rates are rather attractive. Not that any rates right now are hugely attractive, but there is some attractiveness should the banks not be able to bid the going rate. We have an alternative, and I think that alternative is important in today's municipal finance arena. The other thing is, right now we need a little more diversity in that we have quite a bit of money in 2 banks, and a very little amount of money in a 3rd bank. And I think just by our own investment policies, our own finance policies, we probably should be spread around a little bit more than that. So my recommendation is for this resolution to be adopted this evening.
Very good. Thank you, Scott, for a good explanation. And I concur with his comments. We all do have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers' money to get the best we can for the money, the idle funds, and I know we have a certain loyalty to our local banks, but there is a price to that loyalty as well, and we have to be cognizant of that as well. So I'm not offended or afraid, or I think it's a great thing to have this extra tool for investment and to be able to get a little bit more return on our dollars. And I can see that. Look at the rates just today, and they are quite a bit higher, relatively speaking, to what we're earning right now.
Yes,
so
relatively speaking.
Just relatively speaking, I'll emphasize that.
They also, our involvement with this also helped us develop our investment policies in the past, and I think going forward we will be looking at those as well and possibly bringing some of that back to you in the near future.
Mr. Byrd.
Yes, ma'am.
In my time on the City Commission, I don't know that we've ever had a really deep dive conversation about the municipal investment pool. Can you tell me, is there a cost related to us being a part of that, or is it?
There's a very small cost. It's not cost us anything, okay. Just being using it the way we have, because, like I said, we've used it very little because we didn't need to. But there is a very minor cost in the earnings as we go along. But it was established to do exactly what I'm asking for here, is to give municipalities an alternative when the local banks won't or can't bid on our idle funds. And like I said, we've been very fortunate to have good banks here in town that have participated, but there are times when it would be beneficial to us to have that alternative available.
I appreciate you doing your due diligence on trying to find alternatives.
Commissioners, to give you a little bit of history like that, since I've done this a long time, no, I was not the first city manager at the incorporation of the state, but this came about in the 90s because there were a lot of small cities, of which I was in one, that had no option. There may have been one bank in the town. There was just no option. Interest rates were going down. It was difficult to work within the confines of the statute to try and earn some interest. And the more interest the city is able to earn back, that actually lowers the mill levy. And there used to be a time when we earned a lot of interest, and that was worth a lot of mills to keep the property tax down. So the municipal investment pool came about, one of the good things that the legislature did, and it opened it up to all cities. And I will tell you, of all the cities I've been in, Scott is the best manager of how we use that municipal investment pool that I have been able to work with. He understands it, he gets it, and we maximize it.
Good. Totally agree. Any other questions of Scott? I'll entertain a motion on item number 14 then.
Mayor Skidmore, I move that we approve the resolution for the municipal investment pool.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion on this? If not, we'll take a roll call vote, please.
How do you vote, Commissioner Kaler?
Yes.
Commissioner Geis?
Yes.
Commissioner Dickinson?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Mayor Skidmore?
I vote yes, too. Motion carries. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Report by City Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's not often I take the podium, but I think there's some special things I'd like to say tonight. And I have 5 things I want to talk about, and then I'm going to turn it over to Wendy and Michael, who are going to make a special presentation to you. As you know, the community weighed in yesterday on our sales tax, renewal of the half-cent, and a new half-cent tax. there's a lot of people we can thank for that. A lot of people in this room that work very, very hard to get the message out and get this done. But I think we also ought to give a thank you to the most important people, and those were the people who voted in this election. Whether they voted for it, whether they voted against it. This is exactly what local government is about, and local citizen participation is about. And if you think about this, we spent an intensive 3 weeks taking information to the public, listening to their questions on social media. Scott Bird and Jeff Seymour did over 40 meetings with people out there educating. So we have to say a big thank you to our citizens. This is how democracy works, and I am very proud to be in this community. I have been in communities where important elections were lost, and it had a serious consequence to the future of that community. But this was a good election. It is also important that we understand that we have to keep faith with all those voters, all those citizens, regardless of how they voted. That in the next 10 years, regardless of who's in this room, whether it be any of us, whether it be new people, that we help carry forward the commitment that we have to live up to our word. And we have to do with those funds what we said we were going to do. Or in 10 years, the voters will tell us what they think of that. And that means that we have got to make a commitment that we are going to be doing a lot of communication through this process. So, votes are important, and this is democracy. And again, I say thank you to the citizens of our community for participating in this. Now, the current half-cent continues, but what everyone has to understand is that the half-cent that was approved, the new half-cent, does not come on board and does not start to get elected until July 1st of 2016. July 1st of 2016. And Scott and I figured when we were talking about this morning, that we likely would not see any new money coming to the coffers, coming to the city from that new half-cent until likely late September, 1st of October of next year. But that doesn't mean that we don't have things to work on. We're going to be having discussions with our financial advisor in the next several months, trying to determine how we finance, should we finance, and what should that look like. I will have to tell you that my personal preference is that we pay in cash for as much as what we practically can use to pay in cash. So the part of our legacy is not to saddle the community with long-term debt that's unnecessary. We're going to be, sometime next year, you will have to amend the 2016 budget. We're going to figure out a way on how to separate out the new half-cent that's coming in and move that to a capital improvement fund that's dedicated to the industrial park and account for those new revenues coming in. So even though this half-cent will not be collected until July 1st, 2016, we have a lot of planting the seed, as Blake Jurgensen used to talk about on the farm. You plant the seed, and then you grow that seed until harvest. So we have a little ways to go until we get to harvest. Any questions on that? All right. Back-end parking is over. Okay. We should tomorrow have lines painted back out there. And I have been surprised at the comments that I have heard. And I want to take responsibility for this in several different ways. I was surprised at the emotion that it evoked and the rumors that it created. And in retrospect, I should have had a more detailed discussion of where we were going to do back-end parking. Just kind of thought through it some more. Had more of our partners involved and really talked to some of our downtown partners and some of our other partners about back-end parking. And we should have spent more time doing the education. We did do education. Mrs. Lee found some good education points, good on YouTube. My wife admitted to me last night when she was again telling me that she doesn't like roundabouts. I don't understand this, but anyway, that she wasn't too enthused about back-end parking until she saw the educational video, and then it makes some sense to her. I didn't ask her if she tried it. So I apologize. The next time we try something new, I will make sure that we do it different and get it vetted out some more. So, we have started advertising. We will start advertising for a new city commissioner after Commissioner Geis resigns at the end of the meeting. And I want to say, Sharon, thank you. Thank you for stepping up. And thank you for doing what so few people are willing to do. And that's putting yourself in the public eye, running for public office because you care about this community. And I know that from your long-term community service that you care about this community. And I'm sorry that we couldn't get this worked out, but statutes are statutes. And I know you realize that, and I know we realize that. But I've appreciated your candor. I've appreciated how you ask questions, and I've appreciated how you really worked to find out about the subjects that you were working on. So I wish you the best in your new venture. And thank you again for being a part of this organization. Thank you. So with that, Wendy and Myra.
Okay, well, we can't top the sales tax, but this is a pretty fun thing. Some while back, Commissioner Reed actually forwarded us something she had seen. It's called an expression swing. And it's a swing where the parent and the child, and or grandparent, child, friend, whatever, but the adult and a child can see each other while they swing. And if any of you have ever pushed a toddler, sometimes when they're squealing, you don't know if it's happy or sad. So it's a great opportunity to have really good interaction, and we had seen it. It had been on our master plan as something we wanted to do, and then one of our vendors sent out a link again, and that kind of spurred us to moving on. So, go ahead.
Be on the spot here. When we decided to, after the vendor sent us the link to the site that showed us this, we decided to go ahead and pursue it as a joint venture between planning and public works. Do we have just that? Oh, that's all we have? Okay. We decided to go ahead and get this installed. It's in Forest Park in the tot lot. The Parks crews got it installed, I think, about a week ago. So it's been tested. It's been tried. I've had some positive feedback on it. I haven't had anything negative. But I encourage you, if you know of anybody with a toddler, or you have a toddler yourself, Commissioner Dickinson, go down and enjoy that swing. I think it would be a lot of fun. If they'd had something like that when my daughter was that small, you can bet that I'd have had that FaceTime with her. So.
The Parks Department did remove the other swing. That was a non-conforming swing that was there, and we're allowed to allow those to continue, but it isn't the safest situation. So we did the expression swing and another swing, which is the black one, or navy, I'm not sure, right next to it. since we staged the infant parent, that's where the pictures were taken, and we appreciate Matt kind of running out today when we realized we weren't going to have a chance to update you soon, and we wanted to put something on Facebook inviting people to go out there and use it. As you know, the toddler park needs additional upgrades over time. We've had a fair amount of vandalism in that particular park in the last couple of years, and it's resulted in not very many amenities there. However, the Play Task Force and the master plan has this lower on the priority list, but we didn't want to not do anything. So this was just a way to put at least something in there. Those kids that were maybe choosing to swing at the other park, which is for older kids, this might be more attractive than for them to stay at this level of the playground and not be playing on the features that really aren't for their age group and are more safe for them to be at this level. The teen park is the number one priority at this point, but it's a fairly significant investment. Well, it's not fairly. It is a significant investment. This was a more minor one, and as you know, as we've looked, we intend to do several of those. The next project for this fall is the Walton Park playground installation. Because of a sale in equipment, we were able to acquire some equipment a little bit nicer than what we originally thought for the amount of dollars we were going to spend. And we'll either do a volunteer project or the Parks Division, depending on getting the site ready and all that, whether we can time that out to do a volunteer project or whether we'll install that as city staff. But that actually will happen sooner than the teen park. But again, it was a smaller investment, and as you all know, that's a play desert, meaning that they have a significant distance to go before they have a play area, and that area of the community is sorely missing this kind of investment by the community. So we're thrilled that that'll be the next project this fall.
Great.
Wendy and Michael, I just want to say too, it was somebody who brought the idea to me. So it was a community member who doesn't even have a toddler themselves, but they saw that it was such a cool thing. So it just shows how much the community is engaged in wanting to improve.
And we'd like to do them other places. So if some donor out there would like to see these in some other parks, we will figure out a way to get them in if we can figure out the way to fund it. But we actually would like to see one of these in probably every park at some point. Because for that age kid, this is a great way to play with their parents.
So how much does one of these cost?
It was shipping, I think.
I think roughly $3,000. The thing with the expression swing is it has to be on a certain size frame, and the reason we had to put all new frames in down there, none of them are up to the safety standards, so that's why we had to go with a whole new frame here. And with the expression swing, it's the only swing that can be on that frame. You can't put it in conjunction with other frames, so that's a little bit why it's a little bit higher. So.
Is there a second one next to this one here? I see the black frame.
No, the black frame you see is a new set of swings for a pair of 4 to 5 to 12-year-olds, I think.
Good.
So the good news to that is both swings now meet all the safety standards that are in place today. Good. Where the old swings that we removed did not. So
I may want to I want to comment that as many people know, and if you don't know, one of the major reasons that I ran for City Commission 5 years ago was that I really wanted to see an investment in our quality of life, specifically into our park system. And if my child, who is 9, my youngest, would fit into this, we would be doing this tonight. I am so excited about this, and I can't tell you how many people said something to me, much like Commissioner Reed said, wow, that would be so cool to have. I want the listening public to remember that these don't come at bargain basement prices. As staff has reported, I mean, it's $3,000 to bring this and make sure it's safe for anyone to use with their toddler. That's no small bit of change. I'm not going to write a check right now to put one of these in my backyard, considering I don't have a toddler or an infant. However, the city does see value in growing our parks and making sure our parks are for every individual, and that there is something for somebody from 0 to 99 to do in our parks. And this certainly fits the bill. So thank you for moving forward on this and knowing that it took something out of your budget. And a year ago, we didn't know that this existed. And so the simple fact that you made space in your budget so that some mom, as we see here, or some dad or some aunt or some grandparent can see the face of their toddler, it really means a lot to me. So thank you for moving forward on this.
Beautiful. Good job. Thanks. We will move on then to the report by city commissioners. Why don't we start with Sharon right here? You lead us off tonight.
Well, I do want to thank the people of Ottawa who elected me and apologize for not being able to serve my full term. I'm honored to have been elected and looked forward to serving for the next 4 years. I could not have anticipated when I ran that this opportunity to manage a bed and breakfast so close to Ottawa would come up, and it is a dream that I have had for a long time, so I just couldn't pass it up. The one thing I think I will be most disappointed to not be a part of is the planning and moving forward of the Rock Creek Development Park. I am excited that we now have the funds on the horizon to take care of that, and I know that's going to be a huge and valuable addition to Ottawa. I think there's a lot going on in Ottawa, and I think it's a great time for me to get into the bed and breakfast business. I think that the trails that go through Ottawa are going to be well used in the near future, and I think people are going to want to stay in this quaint little bed and breakfast just 11 miles north of the city. So, thank you all.
Well, sure, thank you. Need a motion for that, or should we wait?
I'd wait till the very last thing you do.
The very last thing. Okay, just before you hammer the gavel. Okay, sir, why don't you?
You never know.
Never. That's right.
Okay, she can change her mind.
Yeah.
If Steve runs in here,
Stop.
yes, and says rethink it.
That's right.
Okay. Commissioner Geis, thank you for your service. So appreciate that. And we wish you, my family wishes you the very best. Right? My 9-year-old's giving you the thumbs up in the back. So thank you for your service. I brought a penny because I think I did this at the very beginning of our initiative to inform voters. But voters did vote yes, and they knew that 1 cent makes sense for our community. And voters spoke and said that yes, they want relief in their property taxes. Yes, they want more jobs and economic growth. And they want to continue to have safe neighborhoods and a high quality of life. So thank you to the voter. And as our city manager had indicated, however you voted, I appreciate you voting, period. 71% of the voters did vote yes. And we have heard them loud and clear, but that doesn't mean that the 29% that voted no, that we didn't hear you too. And we've had that conversation, and we will continue to have that conversation, and I want to hear from you on however you feel like Ottawa should be moving forward, because that's what we're here for, is to move Ottawa forward, and we want you to know that we hear your voice. So thank you, voters.
Good job, sir. Thanks. Linda?
Well, I kind of some of the same thoughts. Thank you also, Sharon, and I know we'll continue to see you very involved in our community still. My husband and I went on a 3-day long weekend, almost 2 weekends ago, through Iowa and Missouri and parts of Kansas, and just saw many, many towns our size and smaller that are just shriveling up to nothing, just dying. Their main streets, their outer areas, and it just, every time we both said, wow, we are so fortunate. Ottawa is just so different. And so it just reconfirmed it, how important that vote was. And I think that our community confirmed that amongst themselves by the vote. And I guess I just wanted to thank all the people that helped work very heartily on that initiative, and to thank the citizens who put up with us knocking on their doors and ringing their doorbells and calling their phones, during the dinner hour. But we felt it was important to get that education out there and that communication, so we were thankful for that opportunity to do that. And I believe that was all I have this evening.
Okay, very good. John?
Commissioner Kaler, if you'd like to borrow a 9-month-old for a couple minutes to try
I'm
out the
on it.
expression swing, we definitely will be over there. But it's not a habit I have of lending my child out, but I will definitely. And if Amelia wants to take a ride too, that's great. As far as back-in parking, I too found some of our responses kind of interesting. I had mentioned that at the study session last week that I was in Kansas City, and a lot of downtown has already converted to back-in parking in Kansas City. So it's something that's not going away, and something that we, as we travel outside of our community, will have to still be doing. So maybe it's not a time for now, but it might be in the future. Sharon, thank you. This now means you're eligible for the county commission. So a few years, we'll see you back. And finally, I just want to thank, again, the Sales Tax Committee, and especially Scott Bird, Jeff Seymour, Blake Jorgensen, and Gene Ramsey, and then that committee that really led that, seeing kind of from behind the curtain of all the work that was going on and kind of how they went about that. It was very it was rewarding just to see that what hard work can do for a community, and knowing what this will mean for the future as well. So thank you all for that.
Very good. And just echo the same comments, Sharon, it's been wonderful, although it was short, it's been sweet. Glad to have you on board with us here. Sharon did obtain the most votes in the last election. That really spoke highly of our community and who they wanted. Of course, now our work begins to find a replacement. That will be a challenge to do. So we will be taking applications, as Richard said, on that position. So, but Sharon, thanks very much for service. I really do appreciate that. And you're glad you're not moving very far away. You're just short distance, 11 miles. We're glad to have you back anytime to visit, of course. And on the sales tax too, yeah, Scott and Jeff, you guys did a yeoman's job on that. I really appreciate all the work. And my goodness, I don't know how many extra hours you guys committed to that. And we don't pay overtime, do we, Richard? Okay, we don't pay overtime. Not to them, okay. But you certainly put in a lot of effort, and it paid off. And I think the whole key was education, and I think it was brought up so many times. When people voted yes, they knew exactly what they're voting for. If they voted no, they knew exactly what they're voting for, and that was critical, that the voters were educated. And that's the biggest thing. If we can educate the voters, not just by virtue of the signs or anything else, they got into the facts and looked it over and voted what they thought was the right choice. And I'm very thankful for that. It did pass very successfully. So yes, thank you guys for a lot of work. I kind of look at it as a piece of ARC, and ARC means A-R-C. I think about the circle, how there was a piece of ARC, we bought the land, and now we've got the funding to help bring the infrastructure. Another piece of the ARC would be to bring in a company that wants to relocate or expand here and then bring employment. It's just a part of the circle we're going to have here, and I really think of it as just one part of that arc, and now our work really begins, and using this money wisely as a community has trusted us to do so. I know it's going to be a while before it starts coming in, but we certainly look forward to that moment when we can start putting it to work as the people of the community have voted us to do. It really is an investment in our community, and I think that's what people recognized when they voted that way. So I'm very, very proud to be an Ottawan. A lot of things have been going on this recent year with the acquisition of the industrial park, or the last 12 months, I should say. And school board bond issue success, and now this. And so I think it speaks volumes of our community, and they're willing to invest in the community, and not just for today, but for the future. There'll be people who are paying for this that really may not see the full benefit of it, but that doesn't stop them from voting yes and then seeing the benefit for the future generations. It's a very sacrificial vote, and I really appreciate everybody voting that direction. I suppose next we do need a motion to let Sharon go, unfortunately. I will entertain a motion. I don't mind waiting 10 minutes if I have to.
I could make that motion, but I don't know if that'd be appropriate.
Anybody from the audience want to make a motion? That may not be legal.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I would make the motion to approve, I guess, not heartily, but to unfortunately approve the resignation of Commissioner Geis.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Second on that. Any other discussion? All right. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Wish we could oppose, but we can't. So, Commissioner, again, thank you for your service, and I think we ought to give her a hand for all her work here. So, thank you. Looking at the announcements, we do have our Leadership Academy graduation tomorrow night. That's at 6 p.m. at the Neosho County Community College. Our Labor Day, we will be closed. Then our next study session will be on the 14th, which will be at 11:30 at City Hall with a special call meeting between the city and the county and the FCDC. Anything else tonight? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
No second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You can vote. Oh, motion adjourned.